What's going on, guys? Welcome to my YouTube channel. Welcome to moosareacts. Today I want to talk a bit about predictions for this season. Can United finish in the top four? I also want to touch on a few things that we spoke about yesterday on the Mandem show. A lot of it was around Onana and the need for a new goalkeeper and how important that is. Can we do with another season in goal with Onana as long as we get Beleba in? Also want to just touch on any of the bits of the news that's come out in the last 24 hours. And we can run through a couple of things before we get right into the program. So there's still a few players that need to go out, Jadon Sancho being one of them. We've been told that there's been links with a few Turkish clubs, and he's turned them down as well, Besiktas being the latest one. I think everybody, including Jadon, wants to see the saga of Man United and Jadon Sancho over. It feels like for the last 2 years he's played for Borussia Dortmund. He then went to the Champions League final, played for Chelsea, went to the Conference League final. They also won the Club World Cup without him because he had left the club by then. But it feels like for the last 2 seasons he's not been a Man United player anyway. And I feel like the fact that technically he is, and we need to get him off the books so that we can kind of continue within the market, or at least get some funds towards the Beleba deal. I feel like that's the most infuriating things towards the fan base. But for me, I think it will happen because he's shown, as we've seen in the last 2 seasons, that he's able to get a club, and I think he wants to make this move right. I don't think he wants to be doing what he's been doing before, and the fact that he only has a year left on his contract as well, he might think that he's in a position where he doesn't have to rush it. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's not crazy amount of money that you're going to have to pay for him, and I feel he's still at the age of 25 a good option for any club in European football to have. Let's get it right. Let's not pretend like he doesn't have the talent. Then we have Antony and Real Betis, this saga that continues to go on. Is Antony going? Isn't he going? Can we get him out the door? I've always said out of the 4 forwards we've let go in Antony, Sancho, Garnacho and Marcus Rashford, there could be a possibility where one of them does stay. Antony could be that one. Would that be the end of the world, having an extra forward, left-footed, can play maybe right wing back, can fill in for one of the 10 positions? I wouldn't think it'd be. I don't think it's the worst thing, and I've always been a fan of Antony, and I think that Antony has always shown the drive, the passion, and the desire to succeed whenever he's come on the pitch. But I feel like sometimes the game just kind of passed him by. Especially in the forward attacking position in the Premier League. And I feel like Antony's always had that reputation of someone who, defends well for the team, makes the team have a better structure when he's in it. We used to hear all of these type of things being said when he was playing under Erik ten Hag, when he wasn't doing well in the final third. We used to hear how good he was to make the team compact, to make the team move as a unit. So I think his struggle has always been, can he do it in the final third? And then he went away to Spain and did show us that he still has the ability to do it. I feel like with Cunha come in, and obviously, Casemiro's there, those Brazilian boys, can they, help him and help get the best out of Antony and support him? Because I feel like as much as anything, he's just been settling into Manchester, and he wouldn't be the first person who hasn't settled into Manchester and settled into the Premier League and has found it difficult, especially when Man United has had that turmoil period of time. I think he came in at a very bad time, and also the type of football that he wants to play, combination type of football, compared to what Erik ten Hag was trying to do, was kind of crazy, especially when he knew the player Antony and had him at Ajax. The fact that he wasn't playing to his strengths is crazy. But again, for me, it's not the worst if Antony stays. I don't see it as the worst thing at all. As long as I think Garnacho will move on to Chelsea, and I'm still surprised that nobody hasn't linked. Maybe it's just because he's not available, but I'm just surprised that no one hasn't linked the fact that we can get, or try to at least get, Lavia out of Chelsea, especially with the connections through Wilcox. The fact that he's had him at Man City, was with him at Southampton, knows the player very well. There's a massive fight in the midfield for Chelsea right now with a load of players. Lavia will be a player that I think we could prize away from Chelsea for a fraction of what we'd have to pay for Beleba And dare I say it, they're exact same players. I think a lot of Chelsea fans talk about how Lavia actually makes them that much better when he's in the team. But at the same time, they're not also crying for him to have to be in the team just because they've got other players like Santos and the other kid that they've bought from Sporting. I think they've got enough players in there where it's not the end of the world. Obviously, they've got Enzo, they've got Caicedo, so they're able to hold their own. But they do talk about how good he is for Chelsea and how important he is when he is fit and playing. I think some of the biggest scares that the fan base have is he's injured. You know, are we going to get another injury or injury-prone player from Chelsea? But when you look at his time at Southampton, and before that he wasn't. He's had a few muscle injuries since he's been at Chelsea, but it's not something to scare me away, especially when we're talking about swapping, you know, a young 21-year-old in Garnacho for another 21-year-old in Lavia, and just having a straight swap and maybe having to add a bit of money on top, 20 million on top. I just think it's a great option if we're going to be struggling to get this Baleba deal over the line. And I'm just surprised that we haven't had more media outlets or content creators actually talk about, you know, trying to get Lavia out, because when we're not being linked with Baleba, we're being linked with players who play nothing like him, totally different. So it makes me think, what's the scout system doing? How do you go for Baleba and then you think that Walton's the guy, or the other guy from Southampton that we've been linked with recently? Like, just totally different players. So if you're going to go for Baleba and then you can't get him, and then you say, oh yeah, Man United are looking at seeing if they can get Lavia out of Chelsea for Garnacho, then I'm like, okay, I see what you guys are trying to do. I see the direction and the type of play you're trying to get in the middle of the park. But when I'm not seeing those links, it kind of scares me, but it is what it is. Also, our third draw for the Carabao Cup, or I should say the draw for the Carabao Cup, has come out. Yeah, it's nothing exciting, if I'm honest with you. Still had more news about Baleba and all of that. And also, yeah, like Sekou Kone had a massive injury. We hope, you know, and wish him all the best, and hope that he have a speedy recovery. That was a mad one. I hear it was a mad head injury and they had to postpone the game. So hopefully that Sekou, you know, we wish him all the best. And, you know, someone that I was really looking forward to seeing in the first team this season, and I'm hopefully that he can get over that, you know, the head injury quite quickly, and just I'm just hoping that he gets his opportunity. I really don't understand pre-season and why Amrin hasn't given him that chance. I don't know what Amrin's doing or what he's thinking and what direction. Guys, you know my opinion on Amrin. Like, you know my opinion. Like, Amrin was never in the managers that I wanted to come in to Man United, but when he came in, I was like, all right, cool, you've come in. You've got more than half the season left. We've got a few good players in the team, in the squad, good enough to try to finish and have a good finish to the end of the season. He's come in, we're about 5 points off top four, and the bread has just thrown everything in the bin. We've totally been crap. We've gone to a European final. We've lost to Spurs. And then yesterday we've had to sit there and watch Spurs in the Super Cup final. And I'm just thinking, what was Amrin doing? Like, what did he actually do since he came in? Because it's all good talking about you need your players. Where was that with Ernie Slop at Liverpool? And everyone will be like, oh, but Liverpool had a title-winning team. And that was years ago with Klopp. Klopp was also trying to make things happen. Like, Liverpool have won the title twice now in the last 30 years, but prior to last season it was only once in 30 years. Yes, they had a good team, but there was a load of managers that would have came in after Klopp and said, yeah, I need one or two, get me 4 new players to add into this team. That's normal, but he didn't. He came in and got in with a job and he won the league. We're not telling flipping Amrin to come in and win the league, but we're saying, Amrin, come in and finish top 6. Come in and have a better season than we did last year by finishing 8th. Come in when you're only 4 or 5 points off the top 4 and stay 5 or 4 points off the top 4. So that means you finish around 6. Do you know what I'm trying to say? But he didn't. So that was an issue for me. And I think going into this season, and I remember at the end of last season, Norridine said, look, the season's finished. But guess what, guys? It starts again in 2 months. How much is going to change in 2 months? Well, I'll tell you what's changed in 2 months. We've brought in 3 new forward attacking players. And they all have the ability combined together to get you around 50 goals. So my thing is this. Amarin believes the biggest issue Man United had was that last season we conceded roughly similar amount of goals to what everyone else did. That was top 6, top 5, top 4, similar amount of goals to Aston Villa, who were in the title race. I mean, not a title race, top 4 race. So Amarin thinks, well, if we're conceding a similar amount of goals to people who are in the top 4 race, but we're drastically not competing in front of goal and scoring, then our issue isn't really goalkeeper and defence. Our issue is forward play and attacking and scoring. So you go and get him these new attacking, these forward players, and you look at pre-season, and it kind of reminds us of Ollie, freestyle football, do what you can. Try to make it work, boys, because I saw, Mbumo, Cunha trying to make things happen, running off the ball, Ahmad getting involved, dare I say Bruno, again with his Hollywood balls, but it's just like final third, it just kind of smelt a bit like what we saw under Ollie. And that is concerning, again, because there's no rhythms of attack, rhythms of play in that final third. So now you're letting the guys to have a lot. And this is what Pep Guardiola gets disrespected for. He takes the flair out of players. He makes it so rigid, but this is why their goal opportunities are always on point, game after game. Because as much as he likes flair in there, he doesn't want to leave too much to chance. I think there's a balance where you have enough formation and tactical play for the final third, and also enough for the players to be expressive and express themselves. So there is a balance, but we're totally miles off that. We're just, Bismillah, do what you can do. Try a thing. And for me, it's scary, man. I'm looking at it, boys, and I'm saying, listen, it's a long day, man. Amarin, I'm telling you, man, if we lose to Arsenal, which anybody can do, they are a title contending team. It's not the end of the world if you lose to Arsenal, but it depends on how. But if you don't beat the next 2 teams after that, which I believe it's Fulham and who do we have after that? Let me check the first 2 games. But if you don't beat the first 2 teams after that, then you're in trouble, because you're going to be going into a international break, and then you're going into that international break under so much pressure, because what you've done, you've had to play, Arsenal, who you haven't picked up any points against, and then you've played Fulham, you have to pick up 3 points, and then Burnley, you got to pick up 3 points. You need to pick up 6 points from Burnley and Fulham. If you don't do that, Lord have mercy, because guess what? Next game after that is Man City, then Chelsea. And then you're in trouble. If you're not picking up points against Fulham and Burnley, then you're going into Man City and Chelsea. I don't know, mate. I'm telling you, this guy might not make it to October, because I know Jim the Rat. That Jim the Rat is not spending, the best part of 200 million, and if we get Baleba, we're talking about the best part of 300 million to have this guy faltering early on in the season, because Jim the Rat's always one of those people who just wants to press the button. He's got everyone holding him back. You know what I'm saying? They're all holding him back, but he's itching to press the button. That's the type of owner that I see he is, and we saw that with Ashworth. He will press the button and get you out of there. So let's see how that goes. I don't know, guys. I'm still going to give you my predictions towards the end of the video, so let's wait for that. But yeah, so then, any more news? Okay, we're waiting for Rasmus. Rasmus needs to get out. Rasmus Højlund, Mandem. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, Rasmus, for the first season he came in, cool. Scored, I think, 9 or 10 goals in the Prem. It is what it is. But it's like, it's when and how we scored them. In games towards the end of the season where it was kind of wrapped up, nothing was happening. It is what it is. But then last season, he had a horrible season. I think 3 to 4 goals in the league. We watched him week in, week out, on the grass, fighting, wrestling. You know, it's time for the kid to go and actually have a chance at still developing. We still know he needs to develop. Take him somewhere where the type of football that is being played allows for that. So I think him going to AC Milan actually is going to work out well for him. But I don't know if the kid actually has the best people advising him. He still thinks that he can stay at United and fight for his place. I don't know about that. We hear that Omar Barada was in the dressing room with the staff on Monday, talking, to mark the new season, there to kind of galvanize the team and talk about the importance of, what it is to be a Man United player and where it is to be at the club, even though he's just walked through the door. But yeah, I would have loved to have been there to see what that was all about. We heard that they were down there. The reality is you just need to get Baleba in to give the team a chance. Because on the Mandem show, one of the things that I said was this: let's separate the squad from the manager. Like F1, separate the car from the driver. You have a McLaren, one of the best cars on the circuits, for an example. Then you have a driver who isn't really ready to take that car to the heights that it should go to. But you don't look at the car and say, oh, it's not good enough to compete, or it's not good enough to be there. And this is the questions I'm asking the lads. I'm saying, listen, is Manchester United, the team, the squad, is it a McLaren? Should it be, if you just look at it on paper and someone walks in and says, okay, I've got Euro, one of the best young defenders in world football, scouted and sought after. I've got De Ligt, who's played at some of the biggest clubs in world football, one of the youngest captains in Ajax history, still only about 25 years old, not in his prime for a defender. Then you've got Mazraoui, who's a solid right back, played at big clubs himself. Then you got on the left, you got a flying wing back in Dorgu, very impressive, has done well, tactically can deliver whatever you ask from him. Then you got Martinez, a World Cup winner, a tough, rugged, left-sided centre-back with an eye for a pass, a splitting pass. Then you go into the midfield and you say, okay, you got, Casemiro, been there, done it, won it all. You got Bruno Fernandes, who some people scream is world-class and one of the best, midfielders or, attacking midfielders in world football. Then you got Kobe Mainoo, who's come through the academy, technically gifted, quality on the ball, likes to play the type of football that everybody wants to see. Then you've got Amad Diallo, one of the brightest, sharpest young players in the Premier League. If you look at his numbers against Saka last year, who they both played the same amount of games, he done better than Saka. And these are kids who are similar in age, similar in position, but even though he's been put at, right wing back. Imagine Saka having to be at right wing back. Would he have a similar impact that what we're seeing Ahmad has for our team week in, week out, coming on the game against Southampton? We're losing 1-0 and the kid scores a hat-trick. So again, this is a team on paper. Then we're talking about Mbeumo, one of the best forward-playing attackers in the Premier League statistically for the last 3 years. Then on the other side, you got Cunha, same. Then you go and bring in one of the most sought-after strikers in world football, 22-year-old Sesko. Then you've got Team of the Year, Serie A, before we bought him as the striker in that Team of the Year, Zertsky. So you look at that and you look at the vehicle and you say, yeah, this is a McLaren. They should be able to get top 4. They should be able to finish within the top 4 positions in the race. But then you get a driver who he doesn't know what he's doing, and Ruben Amorim crashes in the first corner of the race and everyone says, the car was crap. Bro, the car wasn't crap. The car had no faulties. It had no, the air was pumped, the brakes were checked, the engine was raring to go. The driver, being the manager, just, if he doesn't know what he's doing, he's gonna bring the whole team down. It's going to make it look like, United, they're not good enough. We need this player. We need that player. And I keep on telling the man them, it's not that deep. Manchester United are good enough with a proper manager. Like, I say, Antonio Conte, who's not one of my picks. I'm just saying, I've seen what Conte's done. I'm trying to put some respect on his name. You give him a team like this, he sets up. We saw yesterday in the Super Cup final, Spurs set up with a 3 at the back, 5 in midfield, 2 up front, and it was totally different to what Amrin's doing. It was more like Inter. You know what I'm saying? Strong in the defence and allowing the forward players to break and score as they please. Obviously, it's just early doors. They conceded later on. But you saw a total different approach to what Spurs were trying to do. This guy's been here now for a while, and we're still not seeing it. So I don't really want to get stressed out about Amrin, because if I go on about it, and I keep on telling the man them, but everyone's got their opinion. Everyone wants to tell me it's Onana, it's this, it's that. Listen, like I said, my issue with Onana is this. Did I want Onana? No, I did not. I continue to tell people, keep David De Gea. It's not very easy to wear that number 1 shirt at Man United. It's not easy to be in between those sticks. We take on more shots on goal than any other team in the league. You know, it's difficult. And you're going to bring in a new goalkeeper where it's a difficult position to play for Man United, and we concede so much shots on goal. He's going to find it difficult. But no one listened. And he comes in, we're conceding bare shots on goal non-stop. He's having a couple howlers, and then everyone says it's the keeper. But there's more to it. There's more. It's not as simple as people want to play out. And this is why I say, if Arsenal can compete and be in a title race with Aaron Ramsdale, Arsenal can be in a title race with that goalkeeper, Manchester United can finish in the top 4 with Onana. That's all I will need to hear. If you tell me you want to win the league, get rid of him, cool. You want to win the league, you need to change Onana. But don't tell me you need to change him just to get into the top 4. When Chelsea had the 3rd best defensive record in the league with Sanchez in goal. The 3rd best defensive record in the league with that goalkeeper. And then you want to tell me we can't try to finish in the top 4 because we have Onana? Do me a favour, man. I'm not listening to that nonsense. And that's just the reality. And that doesn't mean that I'm backing the keeper and I want him in. It just tells me he's not the person we need to change now. Spend that money on getting in Beleba, and then we can have that conversation. You know what I'm trying to say? So that's where I am with that. Any more updates? Not really. So let's get into where do I think Man United will be finishing in the league this season. Like I said, guys, you heard the analogy before. The car, the driver. I look at this car, meaning the squad and the squad of players that we have, and I tell myself that we are good enough to finish in the top 4. Because things unfold in the league. Liverpool have had seasons where Klopp was fighting to just get into the top 4 after having a great season before that. Things unfold. Chelsea, the same. Arsenal, the same. Sometimes things don't go right for rival clubs during a league season. And that's when we have to jump at that. That's when we have to be ready to pounce. And that's the problem that I have. Amrin, you've come in. You haven't got no pressure of European football. You've been at the club for 6 months. You're being back to the tune of 300 million. You've had a lot of time on the training ground in pre-season. You're going to have a lot of time on the training ground during the season. If anything goes wrong, which the likelihood it will because it's football and it's a humbler, when those things are going wrong for those other teams, the worst thing that happens is that things are also going wrong for United. Why? Why are things also going wrong for us when you've got all this time on the training ground? These teams are going from European football to cup competitions, domestic competitions, to the Premier League, to another domestic cup competition, European football, international break. And you ain't got that European football stuff. You ain't got it. So you've got that extra time on the training ground to make things happen. So I believe, because mark my words, by the end of the season, the people that we thought would be there or thereabouts, somebody would have fell out of that. But the issue I'll have is that if Manchester United don't pounce, if we don't pounce to get that position, whether it's, top 4 or just finishing 5th, it's to show that we're here and we mean business. And statistically, the top 6 have had to finish on a certain amount of numbers, around 65 points. That hasn't changed season on season. So we know what the target is. Manchester United need to get around 65 points to have a chance of being there And if we don't get to that mark, or we're struggling to get, then we're in problems. So we know what the approach is and we know what we have to do. So that being said, I'm expecting a top 5 finish. Let me be honest. Manchester United should finish in the top 5. But I feel like to finish in the top 5, that means you would have been in the race for the top 4. And I would like to see us in that race for the top 4 all season. And if we drop off and end up finishing 5th like Newcastle did, then so be it. But ideally, no lower than that. I'm not expecting any lower than that. Not with the support that Amrin's had. Not with the time that he's had in pre-season and last season. Nobody, no manager in world football has the type of ending Amrin had last season to a season for any of the top clubs and keeps his job. Then goes on to a European final, and to put out a team like that against Spurs and lose to them, he would have been sacked on the way home from that final. He wouldn't even made it back to Manchester, and he would have had that P45 on his email, slapped right there for everyone to see. And the fact that he's then come in and he's being back to about 300 million, because I do think we get the Baleba deal done, we need to be finishing top 5. Top 5, or this guy I think will lose his job by October. I think he'll be gone. He'll be gone by October, and we might get an interim manager in like Ruud van Nistelrooy, who knows the club, knows the players, to see it through, and then we might go again in the summer. My thing will be go and get Xavi in, ex-Barcelona player, won La Liga in his first season, bought through youth players, bought some of the players that you're seeing now doing great things at Barcelona. We'll build a team around a midfield, would want to dominate midfield, which is important, and I think will give us the type of football that we all want to see at Man United. So that will be my ideal, is to get someone like Xavi in. But this is not about a video about replacing the manager and who comes in after him. This is a video that the manager needs to finish in the top 5 to have any chance of keeping his job at Man United, and he needs to just sort out his ideas of what he thinks is going to happen and being stubborn. Because one thing about Amrin that we all do know, guys, is that he's prepared to fall on his sword. He's playing 3-4-3, and if he doesn't work, he's getting sacked on 3-4-3. So that being the case, guys, I don't know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments, where do you think we're going to finish this season? What do you think happens to Amrin if he doesn't change and the results still go the same by October? Leave some stuff in the comments. Let me know what you guys think, and also don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. I'm planning on doing more content. I might do some videos around White and Moses and the fight this weekend. I think I'm going to do a reaction on them, because I think this is going to be a serious fight. So any of my boxing fans, stay tuned. Let me know what you think in the comments, if you think I should do some reaction on that. Until the next video, guys, I'm out.